first pick, with BLG then opting for blue side. So the exact same situation as game number 1.
Is changing nothing going to pay off? Let's find out. As okay, you've got a ban Azir here, surely. It's BLG. Come on.
Yeah, it's a kind of a preemptive Ziggs ban, because they know that if that doesn't happen, that's what's going to be locked in first by Shanks.
Summoning circle,
Maybe
no Knight Azir.
Oh,
no Knight Azir.
There's the printed pick. I've heard mythic legends about
no Knight Azir. Game
printed,
3. This is what we want. If we see Azir banned, we have hope.
You know, you want to see my notes? It's it says here, what, four characters equals first pick, and 5 characters equals
smart man.
Blue
smart
side
man.
selection. I'm still learning that one.
Okay.
Looks like the Rumble was actually selected, so they're throwing the gauntlet. They're saying, all right, BLG, you're not gonna lock in this year, and if you do, we're okay with it. And you might not be okay with this one.
I'm not okay with it. I'm not okay with it, Knight. This is the one time you weren't able to beat Shanks into the dirt. We'll put it realistically. Okay. Okay.
There it is. So, this now means that Shanks feels like he has an answer to this one. What exactly that will be, left to be determined. Things like a Kali have traditionally been answers. I don't feel like, you know, the Assassins are really what Shanks has been thriving on recently, but it is something that he has been able to whip out throughout the course of his career. And it's against Knights Azir, which again is something that he is 1-3 on this season.
I mean, the thing is, last time Shanks was playing the Orianna, another very strong champion who can actually hold their own against the Azir. Now, with the Ziggs band, Syndra's the only champion that really jumps out to me as like a, oh yeah, you slam this into Azir. That's something, and my god, if that's not 2 melees in your solo lanes, please lock it in, because that is the most Sejuani angle I've ever seen.
I'm seeing through the matrix right now. I know exactly what you're seeing too. Shanks gonna lock this in. This is a champion that, specifically towards the start of 2025, he was playing a lot of. The Yone really reached a high level of popularity.
Do it.
And you know what goes well
Do it.
with heavy auto attackers in your solo lanes?
Do it. That's not it. That's not it.
Not,
It's my birthday at the end of the month, Tarzan.
Nocturne,
Come on.
But you
it's
know
a
what?
bit early.
We could get there too.
I mean, I don't think I'm getting it.
No, I don't think so. Hey, the Wukong's a powerful enough pick,
yeah,
though.
it's good. It's good.
And something
fine,
that Tarzan definitely is going to be able to have a lot of agency with.
Sure, we're going for the other route. There was the one route of put Tarzan on full utility so he could give all the resources to the laners and hopefully sway that matchup out of BLG's favor. Going for this alternate route, this is saying, okay, fine. If Shun is going to have that much of an impact, why can't I? Picking something that does scale very well, it does now put a bit of an onus on BLG to get stuff done early. And when you have Azir, Yanara, Cassante, not exactly the tools to do so. We're going to need to see the second rotation tie up both of these drafts something nice. Things like the Rel, things like the Alistair really do need to be looked at with the amount of wombo potential on AL.
And you know what? There's a nice tool that anyone's legend have to deny some of that, and that is called the second ban phase, which we have now entered. See if any of On's champion pool does get targeted here. He does love his hard engagers, although he did play the Lulu in game number 1. Now, we get to see BLG take away some champions from Hope. Things like the Corki that could potentially work well into Viper's Yunara. Potentially give the superstar transfer ADC for BLG a little bit of a better time than he had in that first matchup.
I would love to see AL ban stuff like the Brom preemptively, considering the Misfortune is another champion that could slot really nicely into this AL comp and can threaten the Azir from super long range, so that's something to keep in mind. Outside of that, the Kai'Sa's the other natural pick. You've got full dive from AL right now. Does make it a bit more volatile, so let's see what kind of flavor... It is. Let's see what flavor BLG doesn't want to play against, though. I'll be really surprised if it's anything other than those two being banned away here. Okay.
Fellas.
Interesting. Alright. Sure. I mean, it gets a better lead against Yunara in the lane phase, so I think that's just trying to say, alright, not sure how this mid lane matchup's going to go. Top lane probably going to be Bin just absorbing the lane phase, unless we get some major impact from Tarzan early, which is unlikely on the Wukong. So now, getting some more power towards the bottom side.
I think Misfortune makes a lot of sense here. If that is something that Hope wants to end up selecting. Of course, we're going to have to wait until we get to the next ban phase here. Nautilus taken away from On. Having that easy go button means that maybe something like the Kaisa would get picked up by Hope just to have, you know, deny the easy point and click CC. But time will tell as we wait for the selection here on the 4th pick for BLG.
Rakan is on the table. I mean, I'm very surprised, honestly, that we didn't see a Leona ban from AL if they were going to go towards the direction of that misfortune as, okay, very slow. This is one of the champions that did get impacted on the patch. Aatrox did get some buffs to his Q, which, clearing monsters, it snowballs quite a lot because that gets amplified each time he Qs. So, yeah, he's just a bit quicker, bit more, you know, speedy on the clear. The Aatrox is already fringe good in the jungle, but, you know, this game, he's got a lot of targets to be hitting, and if we're picking short-range ADC, probably a Rakan, Alistar, these kind of champions now, the Aatrox has the potential to kind of run away with the early game if he can get even slightly ahead.
I know it didn't work out well. I forget who exactly it was in that first time we saw it. Was it? It might have been Jinja or something like that. But Aatrox jungle definitely has had its power in other regions, and you want to counter to hard engage here, Melvin? You pick a Renata. The Aatrox is going to help out there as well. I think BLG have a good answer to what anyone's legend have, but AL with a much more solid and complete identity.
Yes, this one, last time you had the Cassiopeia running along with a Sivir, it's like those two kind of want to do different things. They could do both, but not well. This time, everybody goes in. Everybody goes in. The Alistar and the Wukong go in first. Maybe Yone if you're feeling spicy with it, Shanks. And then we see the Equalizer tumble down, and it just splits BLG up, makes the fight impossible where Hope gets the free hit. BLG, with that Renata last pick and with the Aatrox, have got good tools to handle it, and even the Azir and the Yanara are incredible. They just need a bit more time to get ready. So, with double range bot lane in the pocket for BLG, let's see how many of these lanes can go favorably for BLG as we head into what could be the last game of the regular season.
AL don't want that to happen, as they still feel like they are the best team in the...
Pretty high on their expectations early on, but we just haven't seen it, as now, finally, we get the real main show.
That's all to come. What's right now, though, is Game 2 of BLG and AL. I think we got a good idea of who these fans are rooting for here, Melvin.
Don't know what would give that impression.
Of course, a very popular team. When you got superstars, you're going to be popular, right?
The most, you know, if the fans are excited, we're going to get a fun arena, and a fun arena usually leads to fun games one way or the other. As now, we are finally into the lane phase. Let's do a brief little generalist recap. We don't need to go over everything again, but if AL are to turn their spirits around, we need to see some impact in these solo lanes. We need to see these solo laners getting ahead. And ideally, Tarzan, as soon as he hits that level 6 mark, as soon as he can, having some impact on the map, because last game just felt a bit too slow for AL.
And of course, eyes on the junglers here. Tarzan, of course, on the Wukong. Champion that, you know, he's able to do a ton on throughout his tenure here on this team. Whereas Shun on a new look jungler in the Aatrox that just got buffed in this recent patch. But as we mentioned, the way that BLG's composition functions, you're going to want to get some of your lanes ahead in order to be in a good position. And so Shun is going to be a big part of that here. Is BLG already unlocking that 2v2 push in the bottom lane like they did in Game 1.
Absolutely. Leveraging the double ranged matchup is going to be essential for these two to get a lot done. As I believe Viper just used Barrier because he accidentally ate a tower shot there. So that is going to be an important summoner down. Pretty sure AL should be able to notice that it was used. It kind of... He used it and then stayed at full HP because there was a Renata shield at the same time. So there's maybe a small angle where AL didn't notice the barrier go down. But we'll just have to see, because with this Alistar, as we've seen it so much throughout the year already, there's the potential to start something immediately if he wants to.
Yeah, get a little bit too close to the tower. That's a flash, pulverize, straight in a headbutt back into the tier 1, which is certain doom, especially in the first 3 levels of the game. Viper and On, you're going to have to be careful of that. They do have their jungler around the bottom side, potentially doing a little cross up and towards top lane, but looks like just a standard full clear into one crab apiece going to be happening here, as Viper does have to flash away from that headbutt pulve combo from Kael. He has no idea at this point where Tarzan is.
And I think we're going to call that pretty big worth right now, assuming AL does not get dived, which, to be fair, there is a Renata in the game. So there is the potential if BLG do want to full send it down there, knowing there's no heal on the Alistar, but I think that just with how the Yanara is in this early game, good for getting priority, not so good on the damage part for going for a dive. Shun is in the area, though.
He's going to get spotted here by that ward in the tri-brush, so hoping Kael know exactly what's going on. And Tarzan headed back to base, picked up a couple of items, and now is going to be here to potentially counter this dive. Hope flash the way for the Q1. The Q2 not going to find too much, and should now have to flash away. A full-on 3v3 has unlocked here in the bottom lane, but it was only the goal of Tarzan to prevent any of his players from going down, and so AL will end up unscathed.
I think that's going to look like a 2-for-2 summoner trade. Both of Hope's summoners are down now. And yes, okay, it was Shun using the flash and the heal from On that were burned. So, even on the map, but losing the summoners from bot are going to make the lives of Hope and Kael even more difficult. As Knight pressuring in this early game, that's what we like to see. He wants to turn around this reputation on the Azir anytime now.
Yeah, that's a good start to this one. And Shun now has an opportunity to go for this second spawn of the Raptors. Maybe a dive is possible if Knight is able to get a little bit more poke down, as you see On also rotating up here, but Tarzan going to spot him out in this mid lane brush and dash towards him. It looks like all will be forgotten as these sides will back away. Speaking of Knight's Azir, again, big elephant in the room. It has been one of his weaker champions. If you include the Demacia Cup, not actually lower than a 50% win rate. Not something that is familiar for somebody as successful in his career as Knight. Now 1-3 on it this season, entering his 5th game on it in 2026. So certainly something that he has struggled on recently, specifically here, Melvin, but just given the reputation, it's a little bit hard to believe.
It truly is. The fact that it's just been the thorn on his side professionally, I think if Knight played Azir, even to like middling tier compared to his otherwise stellar ability to pilot the rest of those champions we just saw there, then it wouldn't be a conversation. But the fact that, as we all know, Azir is the mainstay of pro play. Hold on.
Oh, Bin somehow gets that all out all the way over the wall, forces Flandre to flash away. Flandre also going with the Ignite for a little bit of extra lane pressure, and that was enough for Bin to not go for the continued play for a solo kill. So just a pressure, just a flash. And BLG going to hope that that results in some more good situations down the line.
I think losing the Ignite as well not only takes a lot of pressure that Flandre can put out as just an ultimate trade. This is very standard in Azir plus movement champion matchups. We did see the Echo get pulled out a few times earlier on into the split as an answer. It basically does the exact same thing of Azir shuffles, you go yourself back, and dust hands, job's done. Alright, we go next. It's probably one of the weird areas where melee champions generally have a better time against Azir than the range champions, because standard things like Orianna, like Ryze, they just get shuffled and typically die off the back of it. It's the immobile mage problem. As now, Shun, level 6, does have the lead here. I don't know if they will turn this into a fight, AL.
Yeah, even if Tarzan's able to steal this crop, not going to be able to have that Cyclone at his disposal. He gets sent back in by the chains, but does not get knocked up. That means that it will be a good opportunity now for BLG to go for a steal onto that Gromp and maybe even look for a play on the bottom side, as Hope and Kael are desperately trying to push that wave out, make sure there is no threat of a dive anytime soon. Just steal the Gromp, maybe the blue buff also, as our mid laners are also getting into a bit of a tenuous position. Shanks the Soul Unbound, going to force Knight to flash away with that Q3.
Okay, and that takes away some of the pressure that stops Shun being able to really threaten this blue buff with that as much authority, knowing your mid laner can't come. He's still hitting it, has the level lead at the end of the day. Ooh. Okay.
Just gonna back out. No problem there. So BLG, hey, we talked about Shun trying to get his laners ahead. Looks like he's okay with getting himself ahead too. He's up 3 camps.
And I think the bigger part of that is getting Tarzan behind, because the longer it takes this Wukong to come online, the less impact he's going to have. It's a champion that really is only really a champion now after hitting level 6, and once he gets over to that Triforce, just gains so much value from those 2 spikes in particular. Now, Tarzan can contest a fight, but I think he's still going to get walked over by Shun. I think he's still going to get walked over in these fights. If he can get over to that Triforce without having too much more hassle, a couple camp down is not the worst thing in the world, but it's definitely not where you want to be.
I feel like Wukong is one of those champions that if you fall behind, you just do 0 damage, and it just feels very, very terrible. Obviously, there's enough pieces on AL's side in terms of DPS to make that not as much of an issue, but you still want to have a little bit of threat here. As speaking of threat, Kael gonna actually flash to land a good headbutt into Knight and pull off an Uno reverse card. Tarzan goes in with a Cyclone, and that's first blood for anyone's legend. Thought that it was a good play for BLG, but AL do a great job turning it around on its head.
That was some 9D chess type of stuff. Has now been walks down. They will be the grub start. Pretty safe for AL, as On is still not over to the level 6 part, which would have made this fightable. Skirmishing, ADC ults down.
Viper, very, very powerful here with that unleashed ability. So forcing Hope to back away is going to be that trade, as you mentioned. But AL, after getting that kill on tonight, are able to make their way towards the grubs and pick up a very solid neutral objective.
I think we're going to be very happy about this, particularly when it comes to side laning. Anytime Shanks can get those minions under the tower, it's going to be even more impactful for trying to get the 1-3-1 online for AL. The ability for their solo laners to collapse is going to be super important, and even just now for laning, as we get to see Shanks able to build himself a bit of extra gold.
Yeah, gonna happily take that HP for a trade, because guess what? He's headed back to base. He doesn't really care how much HP he has as long as it is not towards a fatal margin. So he will head back. I wonder if it's enough to pick up any more than just the recurve bow. No, just gonna be that. Went for the early Berserker Greaves as Mochiones do.
Yeah, makes sense. It's one of the better items to be upgraded by the mid lane quest once that starts to tick over. For now, he's just going to be standard issue fighting in the mid lane. The dragon is up and Kael is without flash.
Chick does land. Kael not wanting to burn that Unbreakable Will, so instead popping the heal to just get a little bit of extra movement speed on out of there. First dragon still has not been taken, and all the ultis are starting to come back online. An opportunity for somebody to go for a fight. Shanks once again trading very heavily with Knight and getting himself in an advantageous position with his rage jumping back in.
Okay, does take a bit of a heavy trade at the end there though. It's going to make it a bit more dicey should he want to go for another aggressive play on tonight. And with BLG posturing to start up this dragon, Tarzan on the other side of the map, Kael walking back onto the map. This is just a forfeit, not going to go for anything. You got the grubs. It was a really delayed trade of objectives across the map. Tarzan hoping he can kind of remedy his situation right now by stealing some camps away, but you know, this Aatrox clears pretty quick. The Shun has been able to take away his minions in the jungle and make it so there's just nothing for Tarzan to collect on the other side.
That's always a sad walk into the enemy jungle, as you're just hoping that, okay, I'm going to make a play on the other side of the map. This is what all my coaches, all the analysts say I should do, and then there's just nothing there. Valuable usage of your time as you do gain some information, and we see some ultimates once again traded. Fate Seal, just forcing a little bit of a dash away from Knight, able to get out of that one unscathed. And now Shun and Tarzan will once again be contesting here around this top side scuttles. Tarzan does have the ultimate available once again, and so does Shun as he pops the World Ender. In he goes, not going to land that Q2, and now going to be forced to back away. Tarzan with the first proc of the Cyclone does a lot of damage. Shank dashes back over the wall, and Knight still awaiting to use the Emperor's Divide, finds it at a perfect moment to take Tarzan down, and that evens the kill score up for BLG.
And that's the thing, when Shanks went in last, he used the Fate Unbound, but does not actually get the Emperor's Divide. So, Knight able to leverage that in the little team fight we have in the river. Very nicely done from BLG to a full collapse, and I don't really know for why, if I'm honest. That was On and Kael up there, but just a regular little scrap, as now Kael forcing something onto Knight.
Not able to get the distance necessary to find that pulverize onto Knight, who has been able to play very safe despite all the resources that have been thrown to him, playing like one of the best mid laners in the LPL. And if you think that is the case as well, another reminder, all pro votes are available for the taking. You can flash your phone up towards your screen, scan that QR code, and vote for who you think has been the best players across the league, as we'll unveil those towards the end of the season as we get closer to the playoffs. Around that 15-minute mark here, Melvin, Knight's not necessarily at that plus 322 mark as per usual, but he's able to kind of neutralize things despite all that has been thrown his way.
Tell you what, if he can finish off the split on an Azir win, then I think it is a pretty promising case. Knight already one of the up and runners in the top of that all-pro vote. Hold on a minute now, we've got a bit more of a scrap happening in the mid lane as he's really asserting himself with this Lich Bane completed, leveraging that first item power.
To just do a little bit of extra on-hit damage with the auto attacks, with the soldiers, with everything. It means that Shanks is actually taking the worst end of these trades. Now he has the lifesteal as he's going towards that Blade of the Ruin King, which always will be able to help him sustain a little bit, but all in all, Knight suddenly able to fight back a little bit stronger than before.
And it's important to point out that...
Ooh, hold on. Fate sealed.
So
that's a fun interaction, and it seems like Knight's been able to utilize it pretty well so far.
Exactly, it just completely eats away pressure from Shanks. Now he's getting chased down.
Yeah, he's got Shunin on the way as well. You know, would have been nice to have the Emperor's Divide, although he might have been dead if he didn't use it earlier. So instead, just going to be Shanks backing away. Now potentially some skirmishing around this topside jungle. The Rift Herald's going to be up soon. Tarzan's not going to go for the full send. Instead, going to allow for Shun to smite away this Scuttle Crab on the top side.
We have both ADCs over here too. Gonna have to see now, are both mid laners gonna immediately walk back? All of the quests except for Kael's are completed, so this could be the final lane distributions for the moment. I was also not going to be surprised if we saw Knight and Shanks immediately run back to this in preparation for the Rift Herald fight, but it looks like no. It is just going to be both teams staggering their resets, getting ready to try and set up vision around that objective. As now, Kael pushing in, trying to get some vision onto the enemy bot side jungle. Maybe spot out Shun while he's taking a camp and get a sneaky window to start the Herald up themselves. God, that
Shun had a very strong point in this game as well. He's got the Sunder Sky, so thought the healing already with the passive, add a little bit more of that. It's going to be a very powerful champion at this stage in the game. See if it's going to be around the Dragon or the Herald. But BLG feeling pretty comfortable with where things are at right now.
Definitely a moment of peace, especially considering Flandre has not been able to pick up the full Liandry's. Hold on.
Right, dashing in. I don't think he meant to do that. He has to now use that Emperor's Divide. Kind of lost track of his soldiers there.
He was definitely in a weird situation. Everything about that just kind of felt a bit uncanny watching the play. I wasn't very sure what was going on, if I'm completely honest with you. Like, yeah, it was a weird standoff where both mid supports would kind of look at each other, and Knight was the first one to blink.
And now, without having to use that Fate Seal, Shanks can go in and pick up a solo kill on Knight.
First one to blink, and his eyes are sealed shut with the Dragon spawned and the Rift Herald up as well. Looks like BLG are currently opting into just trading objectives, but Shanks can solo this bad boy. You can have 4 members of AL contest, and BLG are aware of it.
Lands onto On. A little bit of a Summoner Spell trade back and forth in the mid lane. And Hope and Viper both just doing a little bit of peppering onto their oppositions. The Rift Herald still has not been taken, but the Dragon will eventually fall. Shanks ends up blast hitting it, evens up that count at 1. Could come at the cost of this tier 1 turret, but I think overall anyone's legend generally in a good spot as Bin is able to clear this wave out and allow for Shun to make his way towards this Herald on the top side.
I don't know if Shanks is tracking where Bin is, but can potentially cancel a TP should he go for it. Ooh, does find the recall and stop it, but it doesn't matter. Will there be a force fight here? Kael is in a great
Look at Kael. He has a great position for a flank, and Tarzan knows it. In with the Cyclone, and it's immediately followed up by Hope. A 2 for nothing, as it's a double kill for the Kaisa, and Flandre flashes right over the Sand Soldiers and says, not today. It's a 3 for nothing in favor of AL, and it doesn't even matter that the Herald went over to BLG, because anyone's legends are feeling good in this game too.
That's what I wanted to see from AL. Get to an objective and just slam it down onto BLG. Able to secure some plates on either side of the map as reward. Probably going to be more gold than BLG will get by throwing down that Herald. As now we get to see how it started off. It was just AL letting BLG go for this. That's an abstract use of the revive.
Burst it down with some attack speed, I think. I mean, definitely not the most valuable usage of that ability right there.
I don't know if it would have made a meaningful difference in the fight, if I'm being honest. Because I don't think either of those champions are getting a chance to revive, even with how low Tarzan was. Maybe it lets Night fish for a counter kill. But, as we see here, everything goes in AL's favor, short of losing the actual Herald itself. And now, we find ourselves in a situation where both teams have one dragon apiece. The next one spawning is in 3 minutes. Mid lane tier 1s are alive, as AL is forcing something onto Bin.
Landing that Q3, Bin in a precarious situation, but he throws out the all-out, going to try to turn this 1v2. But Shanks, the Soul Unbound, has suddenly become very powerful, and he's able to take down Bin and zip right back to safety.
And this is the 1-3-1 nightmare scenario, when you have a solo laner who can fight both of the enemy solo lane as well. With the Blade the Ruined King, Shanks card tears through that Cassandre as now BLG try to do the same to mid lane tower, but TP coming in.
Teleport coming in. It's going to be from both solo laners, and Hope going to try to slow down the bottom lane's retreat on already being taken out. And Shun is going to have to try to hop into this Rift Herald to go on a grand escape, but they break the car open before his very feet. And Tarzan will make it 8-1 in favor of AL.
Baron spawning in 30 seconds. I would be scared about dying here.
In they go again. Knight throws out the Emperor's Divide, but Tarzan dives right under it like he's riding the sandworm from Dune. It's 9-1 now in favor of the Pandas. And they're going to take down this mid-tier 1 and maybe even look for the Nash.
They have a lot of money in pocket after that play, so I think taking the reset here is going to be pretty fair decision-wise, but let's see how this even started off. It was just as soon as BLG go to try and collect some of that tower plate gold, double TP, an absolute beauty of a play coming out there, as we do get a narrow escape from Viper, but it will be all for naught, as at the end of the day, we still see Knight go down at the tail end of that play, and now Dragon's up in a minute 20, but who cares about that? You gotta wait at least 15 minutes to get sold. Let's get Baron and end the game.
Anyone's Legend. Remember, we said as soon as they get a little bit of a lead, it's going to keep growing and growing and growing by the nature of their composition, and that is exactly what is happening here. Tarzan with a phenomenal game so far, punishing any overextensions from BLG. Shanks really finding great angles here on this Yone champion that, once again, he's had some success on, but maybe not as recently as we have seen this champion have a high level of priority. And now it is Anyone's Legend in a great spot here in this second game, proving that they are not going to just fall over and hand over this 1 seed. They want to hold on to that top spot in Group Ascent.
It may all come down to a potential single objective fight. Shanks is currently soloing Baron. That's happening. Man, Yone's a cool champion. Okay, he will get spotted out by the blue ward.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to kill it, but he was going to do quite a lot, considering.
It's called a limit test, right? They're far enough. I mean, I feel like I'll do it I'll do that in like a solo queue game sometimes. Maybe not in like, you know, a potential series that decides my placement in a professional league playoffs. But you know what? They're feeling confident enough. That just shows you AL firing on all cylinders once again. And Shanks is at the heart of that, havoking his way against Knight. And in goes Tarzan again, landing another 2-man Cyclone onto Shun and on. They're surviving for a long time, but they have not had Hope arrive yet. They go with the Killer Instinct, but Viper's able to shut him down. And they get a second one on a Tarzan. Here comes BLG, and they're here with a vengeance. 4 kills down, and it's Shanks now trying to fight the rest of the team. But it will not matter. It is BLG with a huge punish, and they're going to get the Baron at the 22-minute mark.
Everything looked so good for AL, and then on a moment it turns. The reinforcements arrive, and AL just weren't able to get enough done in time, as this looked like such a good play, but I mean, we talked about it. These two champions are really annoying to jump in, and the fact that you don't get that narrow last hit on The ultimate coming out, and because Shanks has the ping back, Hope gets completely torn up in this fight between Viper and Knight going on him. And then it's just you're outnumbered. Shanks got pinged back over the wall. He was nowhere near to help DPS.
And look at Shun soaking up all of that damage. You see the power of that Sundered Sky, the healing doing wonders. Keep himself alive, and then, you know, as soon as you get one of those resets, the Triumph, the extra heals, they just keep stacking and stacking and stacking, and this Aatrox goes from just a mere annoyance to an immortal amongst men. And that is exactly what he was in that specific team fight.
Definitely living the dark in fantasy this game so far for Shun. Doesn't need to be ahead on gold. He is definitely currently leading on impact after that one. Even with Tarzan doing so much to generate the lead. You look up to the top of the scoreboard, and what lead is there to be had anymore?
Wow.
Just a single dragon? The gold is dead even, really.
I mean, the Baron power play helping that out as well. But it was 5K at some point. We were talking about Game 3 plans, and all of a sudden BLG say they don't want to have a Game 3. Still some more work to be done in order for that to happen, though, as Shanks still is a powerful Yone, although Bin now starting to soak up a little bit of that damage, and having the empowered minions certainly doesn't hurt.
Takes a bit longer to tear through, and the longer it takes, the worse it gets. Well, we get Viper's ability order. That's nice.
It's pretty standard. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the things that made Yunara super powerful, though, right? The new addition of that Fiend Hunter Bolts. You get the extra crits. When you proc that ultimate, you ascend to even a higher level than you were able to previously.
It's a proper
Speaking of
install.
ascending, Knight might ascend up to another world, as he is going to be in a whole lot of trouble. That interaction works well when you're in a 1v1, but maybe not in a 1v4, as the killer instinct from Hope sends him straight into a big payout of 300 gold.
And that's what we need to see if AL want to get this to a Game 3, want to make this last match of the regular season go the full distance. It has to be more plays like this, using your long-range pick tools, using Shanks as the main go button for the team. Tarzan can do alright in a counter engage, but maybe Shanks here might have overstayed his welcome. Nope, not gonna fall into it.
It's a weird game. I kind of forgot.
Really weird.
I kind of forgot that BLG were right back in the driver's seat, but that was a momentum swinging play. Stopping some of that aggression, it makes sure that the Baron power play actually doesn't end up being much of a power play at all. Plus 900, and the Baron gives you 15. So AL able to stabilize things, and now we're going to be able to take a step back, scale up a little bit more, and then fight for this soul point in about 2.5 minutes.
It's one of the biggest things about this season is it's so easy to throw a lead because there's so much gold available everywhere. If you stop putting your foot on the pedal, if you give a moment for your opposition to breathe, they can drag themselves right back into it. We saw BLG notice that window at the Baron fight and seize it to make the game even. One more play goes wrong and suddenly it's back into a winning
Tarzan
spot.
Again. Nice, just the Emperor's Divide there by Knight this time, and Hope just gets assassinated straight into 4 members of BLG, and that killer instinct ended up killing him instead. Shanks now has to flash over the red buff wall, but he's going the wrong direction as BLG find another opening to get themselves back into this game.
3 people chasing down Shanks. He doesn't have the Baron recall. He has to fight his way if he wants any chance of survival, but it is only a matter of time until Viper finally having a Viper-like game, being the man that makes the difference in these team fights, knocking down Hope in front of the Baron, knocking down Hope again here. If there's a way for BLG to walk away with it, it seems to be with Viper at the helm.
Yeah, I don't know how exactly Hope got into that situation, but again, just maybe pressing the ultimate at the wrong time. That is just the danger, though, of playing as BLG's composition here, Melvin. When you have a Renata ulti, a Nazir shuffle, even a knockup from Cassante or Aatrox. As soon as you press your instant all in and that's your last dash, it becomes very difficult to play the rest of the game. And we're going to see that right here. Hope getting zoned out by Knight, but anyone's Legend still trying to force this fight. The headbutt in from Kael is big, and they should be able to take this Azir down. He lives for a little bit longer, but eventually will be Hope to issue the killing blow. Bin running out of time on his all-out, will be forced to flash away, and that is all going to be BLG retreating after losing their mid laner.
Crazy work from Kael there to manage to turn that into a play where you actually come out with some gold in pocket. And once again, it is Knight being the one getting picked off. Not what we want from our expected man of the season, but we need to see now if BLG can drag themselves back together with this dragon spawning in 6. Prio on the map for AL. If they can take this to a soul point, then suddenly it becomes a lot more pressure on the BLG team's shoulders. You have been pushing into the top side, has got teleport, but it looks like there's not going to be any attempted contest by BLG for this dragon. That's going to be soul point for AL.
So the back and forth game that we were hoping to see between these two teams. A battle for the first seed in Group Ascend is delivering here in this second matchup. AL going to pick up this third dragon of the game, crawl closer and closer back in terms of the gold deficit, and are looking to stay alive in this matchup, force the game 3. But BLG not making it easy at this point here, Melvin.
Taking a look as we prepare for the Baron fight. Let's do a little run through of summoners, of important items that have been picked up in the meantime. Currently no GAs on the junglers. We do have a Seekers up there for Flandre. Zhonya's now for Knight in pocket. Both ADCs up into that 4-item territory. Pen item in the pocket for Hope, but not for Viper. Along with the fact that there is that anti-heal, does mean that Shun is a fair bit less durable if Hope is getting to hit him now. And then for supports, that Mikhail's finished for On. It could be the difference maker when it comes to getting out of one of Kyle's combos quicker. But really, that's the only thing for it to be used on.
Got my eyes on these bot laners here, Melvin. I mean, Viper, this newfound, not newfound, but the prodigal son of the LPL, the most fed member in the game at this point, going up against Hope, who has 4 items himself on a Kaisa pick that has dominated Group Ascend matches all across the board. Whoever has the better fights, whoever has the better positioning, could be the team to come out on top of this one. And a huge test for a player like Hope, going up against Viper and having an opportunity to outplay him, outmatch him, and force this game 3.
It's a Cold War scenario we sit at right now, standing in front of this Baron. Neither team wants to be the one to aggro it. Neither team wants to be the one to get their resistances shredded. Shanks looking to get some level of pressure down, but the fact that he hasn't got to hit this bot lane tier 2 once goes to show that Bin is really starting to turn into the brick wall. Approaching that level 20, already got the Randuins in pocket, mitigates a lot of that crit damage that Shanks is pumping out there. I think Shanks is still winning an elongated fight, but that doesn't matter if it's enough time for BLG to win the game on the other half of the map.
We've entered a lull. 30 minutes into the game. AL have stabilized the gold. It is now 400 in favor of Bilibili Gaming, who now again just need that one win to lock up first place in the group based off of just game differential alone. AL trying to get to 8-2, have the runaway best record in terms of series score. Make sure that BLG don't have the sweep on them throughout the regular season. I mean, that's something that can play into the mental of this as well here, Melvin. The fact that BLG could have AL's number, at least so far in this season. I wonder if that will continue to be the case around this fight.
Flandre looking, Tarzan
going in. Goes in. Really nice flash, trying to lock down Shun, who still has not burned the ultimate. Shanks has to use the Fate Seal defensively, though, and that means that Bilibili Gaming could now go on the attack. Bin popping that control ward over the wall to get a little bit of a sense of where AL are currently situated. And with them now going back to base, potentially, it's going to be BLG starting up the Baron and canceling the recalls of AL. Likely to get a full 5v5 unless AL are content with just allowing this objective to go down. Tarzan has the Baron at 6,000 HP, has the Guardian Angel, but is afraid to go over the wall just yet. A teleport comes in with the spellbook from Kael. They've kept the Baron at 5,000, waiting for anyone's Legends to go in. Shanks goes with the Soul Unbound, but is now forced to tether back as Flandre has now overheated. In goes Knight. He goes for the shuffle, but everybody flashes away. And that is a big tool that is no longer at the BLG mid laner's disposal. He's burning down, and in goes Kael, but he goes golden at just the right time. And Viper is gone. On will fall. It's a double kill already for the Kaisa, and Hope has found his moment. It's a triple kill for the AL bot laner, and that will be the full ace for AL.
Absolutely fantastic from AL. They let BLG draw themselves to the end of the Baron and then say no. This is our fight. Kael had a perfect TP flank to go around the side and completely shut out any escape from BLG. Once they had walked too far, once they had stepped into AL's trap, it was all over from there. As we get the full 3 games. Hell yeah!
BLG looked like with the Baron they could shut things out, but AL had a glimmer of hope. We're going to a decider in our final series of the regular season.
Yes! This is what we wanted. This is it. All 3 going the distance between the best teams in the league in what was, I would say, one of the best games I've seen between these 2 teams so far. That was exactly as back and forth as I wanted it to be. And I think that may have given a bit of the momentum, a bit of the confidence advantage over to AL going into that 3rd game.
Started from the draft. Just the mind games that AL were able to play. They knew they had to spice things up. They threw BLG a bone. They said, we're not going to ban Azir. We're not even going to pick Azir in the 1st round. Do it. You won't. And BLG, they had too much of an ego seemingly. They know they have struggled on this pick all season long. They pick it up, and Anyone's Legends just had the perfect response to it. Shanks played that Yone game masterfully. He was able to find really advantageous trades for himself, allow for Tarzan to get in, and whichever jungler got off to the better start so far in this series, Melvin, has been able to close out the game and give their team the win.
I would say in AL's case, though, it was a bit less decisive. Particularly with that throw around the Baron, it really did look like BLG was just about to walk away with it for a good portion there. But it came back to AL team fighting around objectives, getting themselves to that soul point. And I think the fact that they had soul point put that extra level of pressure that BLG knew they have less than 2 minutes before the Mountain Dragon spawns. If we don't force Baron now, we're going to get stuck in the terrible position where they could just send Shanks to solo Dragon and stop us doing Baron. And if we go to Dragon, then they get Baron. And so it was a lose-lose situation. AL had got themselves into the winning position off of the back of those objectives. And with a immaculately played final team fight, they were able to take it away after what looked like it should have been all over because they had lost 3 of their key engage ultimates before the fight even started.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to the point of how these compositions like to function. We're going to get a replay of that last fight, but part of me is wondering if BLG just stayed on the Baron, forced AL to fully commit without having those tools, and then BLG go for the counter engage, would that have resulted in a better fight? Instead, you see Knight dashing in with basically a reckless Emperor's Divide, trying to shuffle everybody back in, ends up hitting nobody. And even though he survives for a little bit longer with a nicely timed Zhonya's at the end of that one, Hope is able to dash in with the Killer Instinct and just absolutely tear BLG to shreds. We said whichever bot laner had the better performance in the decisive fight would end up winning the game. And guess what? It was Hope. It was not Viper. It was the LPL mainstay that has stuck around here for the last few years, been across the league, whether it was, on JDG, down to WE, back onto AL. He stayed in the LPL, and he's now taking down the mercenary that is Viper.
Who, for the most part of that game, did look like he had the potential to run it for BLG, but was not able to take them over the line. I wouldn't say drag them over the line, though, because it definitely felt like everybody on BLG, short of the man in the mid lane, had their moments of incredible impact, where Shun did a lot to really drag them out of that pit and put them back into the game with on around that first Baron play. But now, we have to start to project forward as we get the replays going through the history of what we just watched. And it does feel like history at this point, because even though this is only minutes ago, the only place we can look forward to is what on earth gets played in Game 3. Because right now, AL may be on the momentum, but they have only beaten BLG when Knight's been on Azir. Can they break that streak at this point? Because I don't see
Fearless strikes again, but in the opposite way.
Yeah, because we need to see them be able to win on something else. Shanks was able to get a winning matchup here, and I think that was the important part. Now, can we extrapolate that to the draft as a whole, or is it just we have a winning answer when it's against Azir?
That's a great point. Because the Azir it's a meme. We can talk about it all you want, but again, as you say, the reason that it's worked out is because that is what Shanks has been able to, get a good laning phase out of. And that is the main thing that has kept AL in shape. Obviously, they lost a couple of team fights here and there, but this one ended up being just a beautiful situation here. You got to shout out Kael for that TP flank as well. I mean, you mentioned it at the top. Watching it again, he was a big reason as to how AL won that game.
If Viper gets the DPS hope down there, I think he does win the isolated 1v1 with Knight coming out of Zhonya's and finishing off the kill. And then it becomes a very different situation. Losing that Yanara damage, I mean, there's just no damage threats at that point. Azir's dead, Yanara's dead. What is Cassante and Aatrox supposed to do? They're not that broken anymore.
Yeah, potentially. We'll wait to see as we finish off the rest of the season, obviously. But yeah, for now, this series delivering. That game definitely delivering. You saw the gold graph. That is an LPL gold graph if I've ever seen one. None of this one-sided nonsense. You're getting back and forth, comebacks, throws, all in the same. And that is exactly what you are to expect when we have our two top teams in Group Ascend. Potentially that finals preview, and if the finals are anything like this one here, Melvin, we are in for a treat to round out the season.
Yeah, I think this is a well-deserved MVP. I mean, recency bias because at the end of the game I was thinking Kael, but at the end of the day, the reason that AL had the lead was Shanks in the mid lane, really sticking it to Knight throughout the game and being that pressure in the side lanes, in the team fights. Yeah, fair, deserved, definitely, and, can he do it twice in a row? That's going to be the main question, because if you can, then suddenly we have a very interesting playoffs to look forward to.
Yeah, AL don't want to get swept by BLG in terms of